Welcome into the College Football Every Game on the Board podcast. Championship weekend. We got our leadoff hitter here, Matt Josephs, sportsmemo.com, on Twitter, at MidMajorMatt, hitting the group of 5 games for this weekend. Matt, without further ado, welcome in. How you feeling?
Drew, I feel like we just started week 1. I felt like we just did the week 0 games, and now all of a sudden we're doing the championship Saturday. I'm sad, Drew, although it means we're getting close to bowl season. You know how much I love bowl season, so sad that we don't have too many more of these left.
Yeah, bowl season's always fun, but you're right, man. It's almost like a bittersweet type of thing in life where we're coming to the end here. And championship weekend, always a fun one. It's actually starting off Friday night, guys. We get the Conference USA championship game here. North Texas, the Mean Green versus the UTSA Roadrunners. So a battle of pretty good team names here in terms of the Mean Green and Roadrunners. Should be a pretty decent game. -8.5. That's the UTSA side at home in the Alamo Dome. 69 being the total. What are we thinking here? North Texas, UTSA for the Conference USA crown, Matt.
Well, first thing that you always have to look at when it comes to these championship games is where is it being played? Is it a neutral field? And of course, the weather, which we won't have to worry about here because it's in the Alamo Dome at UTSA. The other thing you kind of have to look at, did these two teams play? Yes, they did. Back on October 22nd, UTSA got a win 31-27. They scored a touchdown with 30 seconds left to win that game. And there were 3 touchdowns in the final 3 minutes. So it was a crazy finish between these two. The thing you kind of look at, were there any injuries? No, everybody was pretty much healthy. You look at North Texas, it's a really good offense. Their offense, you know what they want to do. They want to run the ball. They want to be able to set up the play action with Yoon throwing the shorter. And, they would rather this game be a little bit of a ground and pound type of thing. And then you got UTSA, who can do and do them both. They can run it. They can throw it. Of course, Sincere McCormick is gone. UTSA is 5-1 at home. North Texas is 2-4 on the road. Both defenses have their weaknesses that line up kind of well with the opponent. I think as of now, my lean would be to North Texas here on the road. I think that they have the offense that can kind of quiet things down a little bit for UTSA. I think UTSA wins this game, but this number 8.5, I think it's a little much here, Drew. I don't know about you, but I kind of lean toward North Texas here.
I think it's kind of a tough one. I bet the UTSA game last week against UTEP, I bet it under the total. And I was kind of very disappointed in UTSA's defense. They let up like a bunch of points to UTEP, who hasn't had a very good offense of late. So I don't know if that was just kind of the last game of the season, and they kind of were in the conference championship game, I believe, anyway. So they just kind of let the foot off the gas. It cost me money. So that's what's making me kind of pump the brakes on betting this game again, talking about the Roadrunners.
Yeah, I think it partially was that, Drew. They didn't really have anything to play for, and they did score the last, 20, 21 points of the game, so they came back and won. Neither defense is that good. The number's very high here, and obviously we got 3 touchdowns in the last 3 minutes to get to 58 in that game in San Antonio back on October 22nd. I'm not touching the total here. It's a game I don't love, but since we talk about every game on the board, Drew, I'm going to lean to the underdog here.
It is every game on the board. We are hitting all the games in college football for this weekend, championship weekend. We got MidMajorMatt here doing all the group of 5 games, and then we're going to bring in Kelly Stewart at 5:30 Eastern and do all the Power 5 games. So we're going to hit all of the games in college football. If you're new to every game on the board, we just go down in rotation order, those little numbers next to the team name on the betting odds screen. If you go to wagertalk.com, just go to the live odds, college football. Those little numbers were going down in numerical order, hitting the group of 5 games with Matt. Then we'll hit the Power 5 games with Kelly. So that puts us on Friday as well. This is the degenerate special of the weekend here, Matt. It's Akron and Buffalo. And it's actually the one that's not a championship game. This is a rescheduled game from, I believe, when Buffalo had all those winter weather issues. They canceled this one, and Buffalo is now -12 at home, 55.5 being the total. It can make us money. Is there anything to be made here with this rescheduled non-championship game on championship weekend, Matt?
So the thing that gets played here is that Buffalo wins and they are bowl eligible, which is huge, obviously. We talked about this game last week, Drew, the Kent State game, and we said, I said, Buffalo needs bowl eligibility. Kent State's finishing out a bad season. Buffalo should win this game. Of course, they don't. They lose it in overtime. The thing to notice here, Drew, is that I'm looking at the weather right now. 16 to 20 mile per hour winds here, which will certainly affect Akron, who can't throw the ball, can't run the ball very well. Buffalo's team total is 33.5 in theory. And once again, we talked about the Akron Northern Illinois game last week, Drew. And I asked you, I said, what do you think Akron's mindset is? Well, they won at Northern Illinois in that 44-12 game.
Big time.
The question is, did they win their Super Bowl last week and they're kind of limping to the finish here? Last year, Buffalo won this game 45-10. The only thing I would look at here, and I'm going to wait more until the weather forecast kind of decides itself. You obviously have 2 days. I might look at a Buffalo team total over here. Buffalo doesn't necessarily need to throw the ball to win. They've got good running backs. They've got a good system that can play well in whatever weather it is. So I might look at the Buffalo team total over once we kind of settle on a weather forecast here.
Like it, Matt. Good way to look at it here as we move down 309, 310. We're now on the Saturday, December 3rd card. And this is the MAC championship game, everyone's favorite conference here. Toledo and Ohio, Matt. We're seeing 55 being the total, -1.5. That's the Rockets, the Toledo side, as the road favorite. This kicks us off on Saturday, 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific in Ford Field. So that's where the Detroit Lions play their home game. Controlled climate, won't have to worry about weather. Could be a fast track as well. What are you thinking here, Toledo and Ohio?
I mean, this game is not what it's supposed to be, if you think about it. It should be one of the Rourkes going up against whether it's Daquan Finn or whoever. But, Rourke is out for the season for Ohio. C.J. Harris stepped in at quarterback. Played pretty well against Bowling Green. Now, I think some people are going to, tout his numbers and everything, but it is Bowling Green. Their defense is rather awful. But Toledo's defense is rather one of the best in the MAC. And look, everybody, and we've seen it early, obviously, Drew, the money is coming in on Ohio. It was 4.5. It's now down to 1.5. There's some 2s out there. A bookmaker has a 2.5 out there, which I don't know if that's updated or not. I actually think, Drew, and once again, we don't know who Toledo's quarterback is going to be. Daquan Finn injured his ankle against Bowling Green 2 weeks ago. His mobility wasn't great, threw a bad interception last week at Western Michigan. And then Tucker Gleason's playing with a broken hand. So we don't know who the quarterback is going to be in this game. It almost doesn't matter to me, Drew. I think, and of course this can change once we get more clarity on who the quarterback is, I actually think this is the perfect time to take Toledo. I understand they've lost 3 of their last 5. I understand some people will probably, bat an eye at this, but I trust Toledo's defense in this situation against a backup quarterback, having played terribly down the stretch. They are a team that I think they're better here. Ohio's defense is really bad. I'm hoping that Toledo gets a little bit healthier in this game and that they held out some guys and played them less down the stretch to get them ready for this game. I'm not going to bet it yet. Maybe I get Toledo as an underdog here, Drew. I don't know if you think that we might get that far down, but I think I'm going to lean to Toledo here. Obviously, as I said, I want to wait for the quarterback announcement, the best we can get, maybe some sort of tweet from Pete Thamel on Saturday morning. But I think this is the perfect spot to take Toledo, Drew. Their defense is going to win them this game no matter who the quarterback is.
I don't necessarily disagree with you. I mean, Ohio's been a wagon. If you've been betting Ohio, they're one of the more profitable teams in college football. They've been a great team to bet on, is what I'm getting at. They're good. But I'll also say this about Ohio, and this is kind of to your point on Toledo. In my opinion, Rourke is the best player in the MAC. But when you watch him play football, he's a good quarterback. Like, I believe his brother plays in the CFL, the other Rourke. He's probably a guy that could play in the CFL. Who knows? Maybe an outside shot at making a roster spot in the NFL. But he's got to be a big drop off. You bring up the backup quarterback. I think his name is C.J. Harris. I watched pretty much every snap of that Bowling Green game. He's decent, but doing research on that, I believe he only had like 4 passing attempts before playing Bowling Green. He's like really raw. We really don't know what we're getting with him. He can run the ball pretty good, but it makes it a very difficult handicap for me, Matt. Like, what are we really getting here with both of these sides? I haven't bet it side or total. I would probably bet the under. The only problem is it opens 61.5. And as we're talking here midweek, it's 55. It's almost a full touchdown towards the under. So I'm not the only one thinking that. I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. Very difficult handicap.
No, and I agree. And once again, it's also, we're doing the every game on the board, so I'm giving opinions on everything. And people are gonna be like, well, how can you bet on Toledo without knowing their quarterback? And that's why I'm kind of waiting until Saturday to see best case. I mean, look, there's a case to say I want Daquan Finn. He's the best quarterback on the roster. But if he's not going to be mobile and he's going to be, sitting duck in the pocket, then I don't want him in there. And then Tucker Gleason's playing with a broken hand. And I don't want the third string guy coming in. And I don't think the third string guy's coming in. So the Rockets are in such disarray here that I almost think there's some value here because the one unit that's not in disarray is their defense.
MidMajorMatt on Twitter. Check him out, sportsmemo.com. Hit his 5% play this past week. And what, Matt, it cashed in the third quarter, did it?
Third quarter was JMU's team total over. It was their Super Bowl. They were going to beat almost any team in America on Saturday. And after scoring only 3 points in the first quarter, they went over the team total of 33.5 in the third quarter.
Nice, man. Always good to get those cash in early. Guys, he's coming to us from Richmond, Virginia, in the ESPN radio studios there. And I believe you were just interviewing the Richmond quarterback, right?
The JMU quarterback. I talked to him about the end of the season. Todd Centeio is a great story. Started at Temple, went to Colorado State, followed Steve Adazio out there, and then he goes to James Madison. JMU picked up Jordan McLeod, the former USF quarterback, as their next transfer quarterback. So we'll see how he fits in that system next year. So sad the Dukes couldn't play in a bowl game. Sad the Dukes couldn't play in the Sun Belt game, which we'll talk about next, because Coastal Carolina didn't technically win the Eastern Division.
Just one of the more stupid rules the NCAA has. When a team makes a jump from FCS to FBS, they have to take, I think, 2 years, can't go to a bowl game, and can't play in a championship game. You might know more about it than me, but we'll tee it up here. Sunbelt, Coastal Carolina, and Troy. Troy is playing at their home field, Veterans Memorial Stadium in Troy, Alabama. -8.5. That's the Trojans as the quote-unquote home favorites, 48 being the total. Chanticleers and Trojans. Matt, what are you thinking in the Sun Belt?
So I'm going to channel my inner Teddy Covers here because obviously the handicap is Grayson McCall playing. And Jamie Chadwell on Monday during the Sun Belt coaches teleconference said, quote, he's getting better each week. It's closer probably to a bowl game than it would be this week. He's improving. Saturday will be 4 weeks, and it was a 3 to 6 week injury. He couldn't have played Saturday. He wasn't healed. We'll just continue to see how he's going. I know our doctors and everybody's saying it's closer to 6 weeks, but if he can go, then I know he will want to go. So, I mean, look, it's a tough handicap because if you want to bet Coastal Carolina, you're saying that there's a chance he's going to play. I watched all that game with James Madison. Jared Guest was horrendous as a quarterback. Absolutely horrendous. He wasn't very mobile, but was against James Madison. I think that works out. Plus, Coastal Carolina's defense is bad. Like, there was so many open people for James Madison almost on every snap on Saturday, and it was amazing. You look at Troy. Troy's defense has not allowed more than 20 points since October 1st when they played Western Kentucky. Both of these teams really slow. Coastal Carolina averages a play every 28.9 seconds. Troy averages a play every 27.5 seconds. So there's not going to be a lot of possessions in this game. The thing that kind of complicates betting the under here is if you get Grayson McCall, then the total's going to shoot up, and then there's more value on the under, I would say, because I almost want Grayson McCall to play in this game because I don't think he'd be 100%. I think he'd be out there at maybe 60% here. So what I'm saying is I like the under in this game. I know Coastal Carolina's defense is bad. I'm going to wait. If Grayson McCall, or even if there's any rumblings of Grayson McCall playing, I'm going to let this total go up, and I'm going to take the under because I think that Troy's defense knows what to do in slowing down a less than 100% Grayson McCall.
Yeah, it's funny you say rumblings. Sometimes in the betting world, you almost gotta kind of fire when you just hear a rumbling, because if you wait until it's like for sure and he's got the pads on warming up and ESPN showing it, the number's already going to have moved by then. So it's kind of almost like you got to be the first one in line type thing, right, Matt?
Well, and it's for that, you would, if you wanted to play the over, yes, you got to fire away before it comes out. For the under, like I want, Drew, I want it to come out so the bettors will bet and kick the over up a little bit, and that way I get some value. That's not to say I might not eventually fire away on the 48.5 under, but if there's a chance McCall's playing, that thing's going to go up. I mean, movement like this better, maybe 50, maybe 50.5. And if I can take 2 points in a game that like this, I'll certainly do it because Coastal Carolina's defense is that bad.
Yeah, it could move up. At least 2, maybe 3. Who knows? Even more. He's a big drop off. I mean, he's one of the bigger drop offs in college football. I mean, he's a guy that might be playing in the NFL as well. Grayson McCall here. Andy's in the Sun Belt, so we're talking about a Sun Belt backup quarterback. I don't know. That's a pretty big drop off. So I would think a field goal move on the total, it could be warranted here, guys. Just a couple games left, and we'll finish it off with a best bet from Matt, and then get Kelly Stewart in here to finish off the Power 5 conference championship games. Next one up, America's Conference, the AAC, UCF and Tulane. We get 56.5 being the total. The Tulane Green Wave -3.5. There are a couple -4s out there as the home favorite. We got UCF a little bit banged up at the quarterback position. However, UCF won the regular season matchup, and I think that was in New Orleans. So they went into their house and won already. Now they're having to do it again. What are you thinking in the Big Easy on Saturday?
Yeah, they won 38-31. They ran for over 330 yards. They almost had 500 yards and controlled the ball for 35 minutes. Now, the one thing here, and of course, as we do this on Wednesday, we know things can change, but there is a chance for a little bit of rain, which I think, obviously, if you look at, UCF, of course, they've probably played in rain, so it doesn't really matter. And actually, as I look now, there's thunderstorm chances. Looks like between like a 35 to 50% chance of rain/thunderstorms, which, certainly thunderstorms, Drew, I think can change momentum in games. If there's a team playing really well and they have to halt play and then they come back out there. And so that's certainly part of a handicap here. You look at UCF, and you mentioned the quarterback injury to Plumlee. Obviously, Mikey Keene can come in and play, but he's a completely different quarterback. He's not as mobile as Plumlee, so that changes the look to this UCF offense. And plus, you have to be modestly concerned about how poor the defense was at South Florida, 46-30, giving up 39 points to South Florida. And Drew, you'd know better than I am. Wasn't South Florida on like their 17th quarterback? Because I think their top 3 or 4 guys were all injured or left, right?
Yeah, pretty much. They were down to the bare bones there.
So, and Tulane got the biggest win, I think, of the offseason so far, in that Willie Fritz, there were a lot of reports that Willie Fritz took the Georgia Tech job. And there were people who were like very unhappy about that. Well, Willie Fritz obviously did not take the Georgia Tech job because Key took is staying there. They're using their interim coach and making him the head coach. So that's a huge boost to Tulane that their head coach is staying. Tulane is 10-2 against the spread overall, although both of their losses were home losses. They came off the huge win at Cincinnati, Drew. I kind of lean to Tulane here. The problem is I'm not getting the 3 I want. It's 3.5. And as you said, it's going in the wrong direction if I like Tulane, because you're seeing some 4s out there. I think Tulane gets the win in this game. That much I can say. If you want to, maybe pair them off on a money line thing with Troy, who I feel very confident with, or pair them off with Buffalo. Or if you like UTSA, I think you could if you like Tulane, take the money line, pair it off with one of these other favorites you may like, and make yourself a little money line parlay.
Finish it off here, guys. Mountain West Championship game, Fresno State and Boise State, 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific. Kind of stinks they're not taking that degenerate special 10 p.m. Eastern time slot, but hey, is what it is. 53.5 being the total, -3 or -3.5. That's the Broncos as the favorite.
So these two played back in October 8th. It was a 40-20 win by Boise State. You look at that on face value, you see no Jake Haener for Fresno State, and you see no Evan Williams, one of their defensive captains, who also didn't play in that game. Fresno State's been amazing lately. I mean, the return of Jake Haener, the Cropper kid has been awesome at wide receiver. Fresno State's offense has been great. And they're coming off a really good win over Wyoming. They shut out Wyoming. Now, Wyoming's offense isn't good, but to shut a team out, that's pretty good. The one thing you kind of have to look at is David Perales, the sack leader for Fresno State, left the game with an injury. There's also some talk that, Haener's still not 100%. And then you look at Boise State, and Boise State's just been, as you described it earlier, Drew, like for another team, I mean, they've just been killing people. They're a wagon lately. They're running for over 200 yards in 3 straight games. They ran for 316 yards in that Fresno State game. Fun stats. Neither of these quarterbacks have thrown an interception in the month of November. Only 7 quarterbacks have done that, and Taylon Green and Jake Haener are 2 of the 7 who have not thrown an interception, and both teams allow 6.4 yards per attempt through the air. That's right, they're tied, in that statistic, which is crazy to think. I think Boise State wins this game. I like Boise State. I have a small lean to the under. Now, I will say I've twice played team total unders against Boise State's defense, and both of them have slipped over because their defense has let me down. But it's going to be cold. There might be a little tiny bit of wind, maybe not enough to make any sort of effect here, but I kind of lean to the under here, Drew. I like both defenses. Obviously, Boise State with their ground game playing more, that might kill some more clock. So kind of a lean to Boise State and the under here.
Matt Josephs, sportsmemo.com, at MidMajorMatt on Twitter. Guys, you're looking for the best handicapper in college football on Sports Memo. You're looking at a Matt Josephs, most profitable in college football this season, also the past 3 seasons. He just nailed his 5% play in the third quarter this past week. Matt, great stuff as always, hitting the championship games, group of 5. We got Kelly coming up in 2 minutes here doing the Power 5. So, Matt, any final thoughts, and do you have a best bet for the listeners?
So it's tough. My best bets are both contingencies. I think Toledo wins this game against the MAC. I'll feel more confident once I know their quarterback plans. That may not come till Saturday morning. And I'm hoping Grayson McCall suits up. I like the under. I'll play it for less in the Coastal Carolina Troy game. But if for some reason McCall suits up, we get the rumors, the total starts flying up, I'll really like the under. So those are kind of the 2 contingencies, Drew. I know people are going to be mad at me. They're going to be like, oh, you got to give picks and this stuff. But I like Toledo once I know who the quarterback is. And I like the under in the Troy game. And I'm desperately hoping that Grayson McCall suits up, shoots the total up, and I get more value on the under.
Matt Josephs. Ladies and gentlemen, check them out, sportsmemo.com. We'll have them back on for bowl season in every game on the board. But until then, cash those tickets, guys. Please smash that like button. Feel free to reply below. And we'll be right back with Kelly Stewart, Power 5.